Right, we move on now to our next segment, as I mentioned, where we have a number of schools who are here to present a variety of case studies around integrated learning. So please join me in welcoming our first guests who are here from Nord Anglia International School. We have Elfyn Wyn-Jones and Daniel O'Hara from Nord Anglia International School in Dubai. A little bit of background before they come up on stage. Elfyn Wyn-Jones is the Director of Design and Innovation at Nord Anglia International School and has been working as an educator in the field of design and technology and innovation for over a decade. Meanwhile, Daniel O'Hara is a biology teacher and Middle East Regional STEAM lead at Nord Anglia International School, Dubai, and is an experienced science teacher with a specialization in biology. Please give a very warm welcome to Elfyn Wyn-Jones and Daniel O'Hara from Nord Anglia International School, Dubai. Over to you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you here and nice to be with you to share some good practice around STEM. Just a little bit of background on myself first. My name is Dan. I'm from the northwest of Ireland, a place called Sligo. Coming from a farming background. Always been interested in the environment, curious about nature, and that's probably what's driven me to a career as a biology teacher.
Hello everyone, I'm Elfyn Jones. I've been working at Nord Anglia in Dubai for the last 5 years. I'm also a farmer from Anglesey. I come from a very small village with a very long name. I'm not sure if you've heard of Llanfair Pwllgyngyll Llogerech yn Dropwy Santa Cilia Gogogoch before, but I live just outside that village there. So both of us are farmers, and that really brought us together at Nord Anglia. Because we're interested in the same thing. But then looking at our subjects, then the problems, and that's where the conversation started about the decline in design technology. So the statistics show that there was a decline between 2010 to 2020, where students taking the subject dropped by 50%. Now then, this is very worrying in the UK, but also in Dubai, when I moved here, I noticed that I had a class of 10 boys. So having this conversation with Daniel, moved on to...
Yeah, I won't touch on this too much. I think it's been spoken about this morning, but I think for me it was probably my IB level classes, more males and females taking biology as a subject pre-university. So it's trying to close the gap and make it a little bit more equal across the gender. And then we said we've seen an opportunity with the two subjects, as well as this, of course, which you're probably familiar with. Employers are seeing a huge gap in soft skills with graduates from universities, so trying to close that gap as well, to close these areas here, which there are huge declines in and huge gaps to be narrowed. Creativity, critical thinking, storytelling, just amongst some of them there on the board.
What we noticed as well is that, yes, we can focus on these individually, but there is a crossover that we need to work on as well, such as creativity, storytelling, and data analysis. So teaching students how to be clever with data and how to make other people understand it, because there's a lot of, well, even the Department of Education, they'd be talking about these statistics and the drop in the subject, and they don't do it in a creative way. So for people to really understand the story, I think we need to be creative when we do it. So same as everything else, we started off with empathy at the core of everything we do. So looking at a whole school approach to empathy, teaching the students about empathy. I think it's a word we use quite often, but we don't really teach students or teachers what it actually means. I
think today we're all here today, obviously, we're empathizing with our curriculums today, and we're trying to find out better strategies that we can use within our STEM curriculums and bring it back into school. We're doing it every day, we're probably not aware of it, and the students are doing it too. So it's just about giving it some context and putting it out there.
And then just thinking about what we have in common as well. So every student that comes through our doors, they're different, so different culture, different backgrounds. But the one thing we have in common is the world that we live in, and everyone does care about something. And it's about finding that something that the students really passionate about. So just looking at some of these things that we do focus on. So life below water, looking at pollution within our waters. This is a global problem. Endangered animals, and also people of determination as well, which everyone can kind of relate to.
Problem within our niches, and then we needed a vehicle to be able to, run projects through, and the SDGs were just such a fantastic opportunity to run projects through from early years all the way up to middle school and high school, because there's a project in there for everybody, and every student will be able to, liaise with one of these, be the background that they're from.
So not only using empathy just to understand our students, but also trying to link it to the real world as well. And thinking about our teachers, we don't have to be good at everything. If we're not good at technology, we shouldn't not teach STEM because of it. We need to be understanding our students and what they enjoy. So this student here, not too keen on maths, for example, it's our job to make it interesting for them, trying to link it back to the real world. So looking at things like how can maths be used in Formula One, how can it be used to look at the structure of a building, for example, and even in sports, esports coming really popular now, looking at things like statistics and so on. But just understanding each other as well. We really need to empathise with what's happened, years ago, but also in the last few years with the pandemic as well. Looking at the classroom here, this is how it was back in the day. That's Dan sitting at the front there. But we can look at the teacher at the back and think like the teacher owned the knowledge. They had the book. They taught the students from that book. And then at the end of the day, the teacher would hold on to that book. Whereas if we look at the now, students have everything at their fingertips. So it's not our job to know everything because the students already have all this information. And since we started this presentation, 3,000 videos have already been uploaded onto YouTube. So the content that's out there is always growing, it's always changing. So for us as teachers to be able to keep up with all of that is kind of impossible. So we need to use their minds in order to drive STEM forward.
So we had the vehicle, obviously, to the SDGs, and then we just needed to provide some structure for any projects that we wanted to run, and we've simplified the design process with the terminology that we're using, so it's easily understood quite across the school. And every project starts with empathy, and we go through the stages of research, developing their concept, testing it, and then evaluation through presenting to external judges or industry from Dubai, as well as SLT in school.
You can see that we've changed it from the design process to just a process because it applies to design, but also applies to thinking as well. Even if you're opening a door or cooking a meal, you're always going to go through that process where you evaluate everything we do. But some people don't do that. Even as teachers, sometimes we pick up the phone to a parent without actually thinking about the process. So through CPD or our daily routines, it's important that we try and use that as well.
These are just a variety of projects that we've run across the school in the last few years. Drop in the Ocean was where students got to build autonomous drones and then program them to be AI and look at things like plastic in the ocean and turtles and build up a database of what they were seeing. So it was a hugely hands-on project, bringing a variety of subjects together. And this was a variety of schools across Dubai and the UAE came to participate in this one.
And just looking at the young innovators at the top there as well, where we had 20 business mentors from Dubai come in this year to work with our year 9s. So we focus on a different SDG every year. So this year we looked at food waste, and we were looking at becoming a bit more self-sustainable as a school. So looking at hydroponics, but having these mentors on board, and they don't just come from a science background because of the topic. They come from a range of different backgrounds, and they'd be able to offer a lot of experiences, and then hopefully in the future they'll come back and offer internships and work experiences as well for our students.
So I guess one of the big things is obviously taking risks. I know some of the speakers spoke earlier about taking risks and getting this out there to be a curriculum within the school instead of an after-school activity or a one-off event. So this didn't happen overnight. This is probably in the pipeline for the last 4 or 5 years, where we've tinkered with different curriculums. Some worked, some didn't work, but we've managed to get a 3-hour session with our year 4, 5, 6, 7s and 8s over a 2-week period. So they've got 3 hours, which is predominantly project-based curriculums through the SDGs. This is one of the ones that we do in year 7, inspired by some of our own passions, animals, endangered animals, which I've worked with as a volunteer down in South Africa, and then trying to build a curriculum around that where the students have to develop a board game which educates the user about particular endangered animals around the world, but also bring in an element of coding into the board game. So they might substitute dice, for example, and make it a little bit more intricate, and they're going through the design process. And this is a year-long project where we get, again, external experts in to judge their products. And we're also linking up with industry in Dubai, such as board game cafes, so they can take the winning project and then that can be showcased within their shop in Dubai.
Looking at being more creative with the timetable as well, instead of calling it science or calling it design and technology, for example, we call it Born to be Wild or Project DXB 2040. So this one's inspired by Sheikh Mohammed's vision of Dubai over the next few years, and the whole project is based on that. So looking at sustainability of buildings, the students go away, they design their own buildings based on biomimicry. So it brings in the science where we take them out on a field trip, they bring a piece of science back with them, and then they put that under the microscope, and then they plan their bird's eye view of the building based on that biomimicry shape. And then they go on to computer-aided design using their math skills, but also analysing some of the buildings in Dubai as well along the way. We look at then Google Maps, an app that everyone's familiar with, and then that links to how Kareem used Google Maps. So we're making everything really current to the students, something that they're using every day, but they're learning a lot from it. And then they'll look at Emaar then and other companies in Dubai and try and base their marketing on that as well. So really connecting with the customer, looking at the marketing, building up a budget. So there are two projects that really cover both areas. And then, sorry Dan, just going back to to just making things current. Sultan Al Niadi posted that picture the other day, and a student came up and said, that's where my plot of land is, just by the palm there that they'd chosen to build their building. So just trying to keep everything as current as possible.
I think collaborations is so important. You know, we can tap into a wealth of expertise within our parent community, and by getting them on board and getting them involved in projects that you're running in school, it really adds another dimension and a lot of value to the projects that you're running across middle school in particular. And then on the top right here, the student, you know, getting a system of support around the student, be that industry, parent, teacher, classroom, but together as a community, you can really take their ideas and their creative ideas and hopefully bring them to life, because that's what we were finding in years gone by. They were coming up with some great projects, but we had no way of onboarding them to become a reality. So then by collaborating with these industries in Dubai, that's what we're trying to do, and that's the stage we're at now.
So just looking at space as well, and over the 6 years we've been able to develop the spaces, not by building but by demolishing walls really. So looking at how the year 7s are always together, the year 8s up all the way up to year 13. We want these students to be able to mix together, because we don't want to put a cap on learning and just teach the year 7 something. So this approach that we've gone with, so this is actually in construction at the moment, but we're trying to keep everything as open as possible. Even the corridors have been turned into a learning space to invite teachers to come and work in the innovation area. We've put glass on every classroom so that people can see inside. So it's about connecting people and changing mindsets, so that students are not just sat behind desks. It gets them out there, gets them exploring and working together. Something that's really worked well this year, some year 12s might be using the 3D printers to create something, and we might have a year 7 student stop by just to check, see what's going on. So that really connects them.
I think even bigger than that, this year we had a prototype area that we installed similar to this, and it becomes an area that students hang out at break times and lunch times because they love the environment. And it's a place that they really come and talk to each other, and they can communicate that with you. So it's about getting student voice when you're, you know, going on to construct new areas or adapt certain spaces that you have already.
Yeah, so just looking at the impact. So the problem that we had at the beginning of the PowerPoint, we've closed the gap there, which we'll see in a minute, but increased intake as well in the creative subjects such as design technology. Skill development's really a big thing. I think before we used to focus on the product that we made in design technology, whereas we should be focusing on how we've built character within our students. So it's not just about building the product, but the person itself. The love for learning, students really love coming in because they feel as if they're working for someone else and not us as teachers. Because at the end of the day, not every student enjoys school. So if you treat it as more as their business, their team, then they're going to put a lot more effort into it. And then self-confidence as well, so not just thinking about how to make a product and how to design, but also thinking about how to pitch it and how to reach out to the community in order to to develop the whole project and the team.
And the model we use in term 1 and 2, we work with the students individually on these projects, and then in term 3, we team them up based on our expert areas, be that graphic design, program, team leader. We can identify that through term 1 and 2. So then you're getting the collaboration and the teamwork in term 3, and they come up with an overall team product, which is then showcased at the end of June.
Yeah, so this just shows now over the last few years, those were the 10 boys we started off with in design technology. They're just leaving now at year 13. And now in 2023, where we've got more girls than boys. So it's not really a big problem, girls coming into STEAM. It's about the maintaining that really and getting them to work together. So even though we can really mix them up in terms of what we can do in Key Stage 3, getting them to work in groups. But we need to continue to do this then in GCSE as well. And not always does the curriculum allow us to do that, but we need to find time to do it. So the girls do work alongside the boys in order to develop projects.
It was a rapid run through, but I hope we've managed to share some knowledge to the audience and you've taken some things on board. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, thank you very much. We've got a quick video just to show you before we leave. It just shows some of the space and the students in action. Okay, thank you.
What a brilliant showcase there. Really excellent. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I don't know about you, but that video looked super fun. I want to be in that classroom. That looked great. Thank you so much. Really, really inspiring indeed as well. Thank you once again to Elfyn Wynne-Jones and Daniel O'Hara from Nord Anglia International School, Dubai.